All right, we'll do a quick assessment of this hive on video as an example. Hopefully it doesn't fall too far into my pocket, but let's get gloved up and go through it. See what it looks like. In this case, it's Mike with BeeResQ, of course. In this case, we're just assessing a hive for a client that can't get to it, can't be here right now. And that's totally okay. As long as somebody does it. Can't leave a hive unmanaged for very long, not with sustainable success. So we're going to check this one out and see how it's doing. So initial part of the assessment is based on hive strength, time of year, all that kind of good stuff. Some of you probably already spotted it. We're going to go ahead and remove the entrance reducer. That may have been on there since the nuke was installed, just for a little bit of added security as they're getting started and growing. So let's see how they're doing inside. We've got a second deep, so it's a 2 deep configuration. We got some opportunistic spiders picking off a few bees here and there, so we'll give them a quick scrape. And a couple get mashed once in a while. Don't feel too bad when that happens. It happens to the best of us. But let's see what their demeanor is as we dig into the hive a little bit. See if they chase me off or if we need to get the smoker out. They're a little upset, aren't they? We'll move slowly at first and see how they look. Let's make sure there's no queen hanging out up top. Shouldn't be. Doesn't mean there isn't, right? So, what have we got going on up here? Not a lot, it looks like. I don't see a lot of comb. I don't see a lot of anything. We'll pull a frame out, check it out. Playing with it a little bit. Not really doing much. We can peek down in there and see, okay, there's more going on down below. There's not a queen excluder that's inhibiting them. They just haven't started growing into the top box much. So, now they'll dig deeper. You can see they're coming out pretty quick. Makes me wonder, did they swarm? Did they create their own honey line? They're not super organized. Could be the weather, could be any number of reasons. They are starting to build comb up into the second deep. But we have a little bit of a spacing issue. Not too bad. Just a little bee there. Let's just see. You can actually observe from their behavior at the entrance too. The queenless hive really doesn't collect much in the way of pollen sometimes. And so if you see them coming in with pollen, that can be an indication. But the best way is to check, see if we have brood and eggs. We do have brood. There's a little guy hatching right there, right out of the middle. Let's see what the brood looks like. One way to get them to come up top is to checkerboard a little bit. And so I'm going to go ahead and we'll see what the rest of this looks like before we decide to checkerboard or not. I'm going to set this one aside for a minute. Just lean it against the other deep. Now we'll go to the other side. This is a trick that I learned in a bee seminar. So if you want to learn more about bees, please do attend clubs and classes. Focus a little bit on the biology of bees, and you'll pick up some cool tips like this. If you inspect and go side to side, the queen moves away from the disturbance, and a lot of times you'll have better luck finding the queen. Of course, as you've heard me say in many videos, you don't have to find the queen at all to establish or assess the health of the hive, but it's always nice to see her. What we're really looking for, what I'm really looking for, is eggs. I want to make sure she's in there and she's laying. So depending on the way this hive looks, we might steal a frame and take it up. And a perfect example of the type of frame we're looking for here. Hopefully that's showing up on video. Lots of brood, young brood all the way down to eggs, if you can see that well. I'll get it as close as I can here. I don't know, maybe cut off. Phone kind of slides around a little bit. Need to put a spacer in there. It's a great frame. The light's pretty good. You want the light shining from behind you. And it slid down a little bit more. You can see that frame. Looks fantastic. Now, since the client put on a second box, have a preference for that configuration. You don't have to. You can run singles, no problem. What I want to do is get the bees up there working more. And so in this case, it's late in the season to be supering and trying to get honey. So let's put them to work building some comb, right? And maybe some stores. We can always break it back down to a single for winter if that's the preference. But I go a lot with what my customers' preferences are. Certainly I can offer advice and guidance. What would I do? I do overwinter in singles quite a bit. But again, you don't have to. Sometimes for a new beekeeper, a double deep configuration can be a little bit more forgiving. But you learn a lot keeping in singles too. So there we go, another nice frame of brood. You can see some drone brood standing off the top there, as well as regular brood. So just taking a peek. We got a couple practice queen cups there. They're not serious about swarming. We got some little cups at the bottom. They're dry, so we're not serious about swarming. But we do need to manage the space a little bit. So we're going to do some of that as well. Okay. So let's see what we've got here. A little further. It's fine. It's behaving pretty well. Another great education frame. You can see a variety. You can see some capped honey. That's the lighter stuff. Yeah, what is the bottom right now, but really the top of the frame. I'll turn it over so it's oriented more traditionally. The lighter colored bees are younger ones. The darker ones, even the black ones, are older. You see some drones on this frame. Big old boys. The drones are the males. Lots of eggs and larvae. You may spot the queen before me if you have a good shot on this video. But good example of a brood frame with a honey line towards the top that the queen typically doesn't cross. So let's do this. Let's pull out one of the frames in the top box and replace it with one of these brood frames. What we're doing here by moving a brood frame up is we're checkerboarding, but we're checkerboarding vertically. See? I'll shake a few bees off. Checkerboarding vertically. So now the bees have a reason to come up. They want to take care of the babies, right? So there you go. And since this is a nicely centered brood nest, I don't want to rearrange the hive too much. I could take another frame of brood and bring it up. I might do that. Look at that. That's gorgeous. This is a golden rule nuke, by the way. I helped make this one. Just laying like crazy. What you need to make wax, draw wax, is young bees, lots of resources. And this might be another one, a good one to move up. Mostly capped, just fine. So if you know they tend to work from the inside out, and we can pick and choose kind of where we want to put these if we wanted. In this case, I'm going to put them up here. The frame apart from the other one. Tighten them back up a little bit. This one back down. A couple frames apart. All right, we'll keep most of the brood nest intact. A little bit less disruptive, but still lets them know, hey, you've got more space. We added a bedroom to the house. Might as well take another peek, Go a little deeper in the inspection while we're here, since we are doing a video. Another great frame of brood. Again, we can checkerboard, move it up top if we wanted. Don't see any swarm cells on that, do you? Yeah, we'll get starting, but we'll diminish the swarm instinct a little bit by checkerboarding and adding space, so we might go further. Let's take a look at this one. Maybe we'll get lucky and see the queen today. You can see how this method helps at least contain her a little bit. Yeah? There we go. Eggs, larvae. Good honey ring along the top. Eggs, larvae. Didn't spot the queen yet. Again, we don't have to. There she is. I see her on the other frame, actually. So let's grab her carefully. See if I can find her again. There she is. Big, giant queen up top. Walking around like she owns the place. Hopefully we got a good shot of her there. I'm going to pull up the camera a little higher. See her on there? Gorgeous, isn't she? But she's on the last frame we pulled, working side to side, so that's a really good tip that you guys can use when you're doing inspections if you want to find your queens. So, how do we make sure we don't squish her? That's a question I get from a lot of beekeepers. Well, we want to make sure she's towards the center. The Coke bottle design of these frames helps with that automatically. And since they are pretty crowded, I'm going to go ahead and checkerboard a little bit more. Put another empty frame here. Slowly mush it together. Don't want to mush any queens. And now we'll go ahead and put back our honey frames. Okay. Beautiful. We can actually take this up if we want to. Another one. Do we want to pull another one? I don't think so. Let's get them started up top with some resources too, shall we? We can always check on the next inspection. Make sure they're working where we want them to work. And go from there. Okay? So, now, careful here, we got our lid sticking, inner cover. We want to make sure the frames are tight to the center. Actually, I'll do that a little bit more. Hopefully you can see me adjust that. Super beekeeper strength. Holding a hive body in one hand. Fortunately, it's not full of honey, otherwise it would weigh about 100 pounds. Again, we want to manage space, tighten the frames towards the center. Take our inner cover, gently turn it as we add it. Less bees are squished that way. We'll put our lid on it. Now, some things that we could do and didn't involve a mite test. We could have done a mite wash on that one. Don't really feel like we need to right now. Found the queen, so probably should have. Could have done so very securely, but video's getting long, so I may save that for another day. There you go. Take care, everybody.